So a lone black person walks into a new workplace. One person has a strong bias and a belief that this person is not capable of doing the job. Or maybe several people have a mild bias that this person isn't smart enough or hardworking enough. Or they just like him less because he's other. The coworkers and evaluators, they proceed to see what they expect to see over the coming months, weeks, and years. They don't see what they don't expect to see, which is a strong performer. Any mistake that they make just reinforces the bias that already exists. This is the racism part. This is the bias part. This is confirmation bias of a racial nature. Okay, now, this is where the tribalism steps in. These white marbles talk among themselves a lot more often than they talk to this black marble. They are more likely to be friends. They are more likely to share opinions. They are more likely to back each other up. They exclude this black ball more and more often. And they generally agree that this is reasonable because the black ball just isn't that good, or he isn't a good worker. And any of these white marbles that haven't observed or didn't have a bias, well, they're going to develop a bias based on the conversations with these other marbles. So now you have an entire group of people who share a bias based on one person having a bias. Tribalism has transmitted that bias to all of these white marbles. And although no one is a true certified bigot, although they're out there, everyone has turned on this person. And see, now eventually they give him feedback directly. Eventually. Or they suggest that he's just not that good. He starts to get angry and protest. And now, in addition to believing he's a bad performer, they see him as angry and difficult. He goes to the boss, the higher up. He considers the boss reasonable and good. The boss listens, says he'll talk with the team, all the members of his tribe. But when he talks with the team, unsurprisingly, he trusts them. He accepts their accounts as true and accurate. After all, why would they lie? This is one of the biggest, hardest things to deal with, is that a lot of white people will look to other white people and say, well, why would they lie? And then a black person would be thinking to themselves, why wouldn't they lie? Eventually, this black marble has to go. And he leaves knowing that he could have done the job. He was taken out for no other reason than he was different. Now, this process I just described, hundreds of black folks in the comments said they have lived this. But they simply couldn't prove it. And who would they prove it to anyway?